LCSC students of online medieval world history. Professor Eric Martin, and welcome to week 3. So, if you're watching this in 2025, then this is my first efforts at teaching this online. If this gets recycled, then there'll probably be an announcement to adjust a few things about this video. Um, but I want to go through what we're doing for week 3. And in the process of talking about what we're doing for week 3, probably generate a little bit of confusion. So be on the lookout for that. For a couple of things that aren't really in your syllabus, they are, but they're not. And like I said in the initial introduction to the course video, I'm still making adjustments to the class because as I sat in and started looking at some of the assignments from the face-to-face class and the online class, some of them didn't translate very well. And to be very direct, I think it just generates too much work. And so the trade-off is a little bit of uncertainty as we're kind of getting into things, with the understanding that what I'm trying to do is keep the workload at a manageable level. All right, so let's talk about what is happening week 3. So to get to week 3, right, you click on the super duper modules here and week 3. And by the time you see this, there should be a video here, this video, explaining what to do. And what should you do? Well, you should read chapter 2 of the year 1000. That's going to be the main thing that we're going to be doing for the next several weeks. In addition to reading chapter 2, I want you to take a look at all these different resources here, particularly the 2 episodes of the Vikings Uncovered. This is going to run you about an hour each. Now let me talk about these for a second. These are housed at the LCSC library through Films on Demand. When I tried to use my link from the last time I taught the class, it didn't come up right. It told me it couldn't find it. I had to go back into the LC thing and reconnect it. So the links have changed. I don't think the links have changed for the video. I think the links have changed to get into Films on Demand through LCSC. So if you have trouble accessing Films on Demand through LCSC, what you're going to need to do, well, let me see if I can show you easily. All right, so just type in, whatever. All right, see, no, not now. Let's go to the library, and let's go to, to the library. And down in here somewhere, where are they at? A through Z databases. You just go to the main. There's all kinds of Films on Demand, education, whatever. One of them is just the regular old Films on Demand, and you click it here, and then you can search the titles. Now, you should be able to do all this from your house. However, it is my recollection that frequently this involved a call to the library reference desk in order to make sure that you understood which password you were supposed to use. Okay, so there's a password involved the first time you do it. Set it up. You should be able to watch these videos. All right, so those 2 videos. We've also got this website here from a UNESCO heritage site. All right, you don't have to watch every single thing, look at every single thing in here, but cruise the site and check it out, because it is stuff that's being talked about in the chapter. It is stuff that is being discussed in the videos. And then I also want you to read this short article from the Toronto Star, 2018, looking at what's happened, with the site since then and how that's worked out. Okay, this is our materials for week 3. Now, how are we going to go about doing it? Now, I've told you guys several times before. I'm going to tell you several times again. In the ideal world, I would love to say, here's the stuff, go have an intelligent conversation about it, and just be able to declare victory. That is my mission, for you guys to have a intelligent discussion about history. However, I realize that it doesn't always work out that way. So, when you click on stuff for this chapter, you get the assignment, right? And the assignment is pretty simple. Everyone is required to participate this week. I'll start breaking you guys up based on the first letter of your last names in a little bit. I kind of want to see how these go. Read through this. I am not going to read through all of it right now. However, I will tell you this, that what I want you to do is to basically use this guide for writing reviews down here at the bottom to guide your discussion. And the reason for that is because you're going to have to write some reviews using this format for books of your own choosing, for that Middle Ages graphic novel when you finally get it. We're going to do it. Originally, the plan was that you were going to do it on the year 1000 book. I think what I'm going to do instead is kind of break you guys up into groups and have you do it on individual chapters. It will just seem less repetitive, and it will probably produce better conversation. But for this week, I thought what we would do is organize the conversation around the review setup. Okay, so here is the review setup. First off, it's a book analysis, not a book report. Be careful about that. All right, be careful about that. And read this carefully, and I think you can organize your discussion this way. So, it says in writing the review, in discussing the chapter, your primary focus is analyzing the author, their book, and their argument. Okay, so you're looking at that piece about Valerie Hansen. How are they setting up their discussion about the Vikings, and how does it connect to their larger argument that they laid out in the first chapter of their book, in the prologue, discussing the importance of the year 1000. So, describing, summarizing the content of the chapter, what did it say? That's part of it, but that's not the main thing I want you to do. I want you to keep the author in mind, the presentation of history. Hansen could have chosen all kinds of different ways to do this. She chose to start with the Vikings for some reason. She chose to set it up this way for some reason. So, remember, now I'm just going to read this off the piece here because I think it's pretty good. Every book or article is a construct created by the author, who has made decisions about how they want to organize the material. And they've put together evidence in terms of how they want to present the material. I want you to be thinking not only about this happened and this happened and this happened, but I want you to think about how did this historian decide to select this material and this evidence. So your job in the discussion is to talk about the chapter, but also to bust this chapter apart into different components. So 4 main components, 4 main things you'll talk about in the discussion. Okay, the first section is, why did the author write the book? Why did they write the selection? Why did they write the article? What are they trying to prove? What's the historical issue or controversy they're trying to address? In this particular case, how does it connect to the setup of their book? How does it connect to their thesis? How do the Vikings provide some kind of evidence for all the stuff that she said that she wanted to try to demonstrate to us in the prologue, right? What's their attitude towards the subject matter? Do they rely on any particular method or theoretical approach? What's their plan for the article, right? How do they organize it? So that's part of the discussion. The second part is really focusing on the sources. And this is something that I don't think we spend enough time thinking about. But ask yourself, what kind of work is it? Is it an interpretive essay that reflects on the historiographical issues? Is she just kind of going through, this is so-and-so's book about the Vikings, and this is so-and-so's book about the Vikings? Where she's just kind of synthesizing what we already know? Or is it based on original research? Is it based on archaeology? Is it based on Viking sagas? Is it based on, other kinds of sources? So I want you guys to get used to thinking about what kinds of sources did the author use to put this stuff together? Are they using legal documents? Are they using economic receipts? Are they using, linguistic evidence from anthropologists? You guys get the idea. So this is one of the things you want to think about when you read these different chapters, or when you're reading your own historical stuff. What kind of evidence is this stuff based on? Paying some attention to footnotes will be useful for you. Section 3, you kind of break the work down into components, parts, and talk about the author discussed this in the first part of the chapter, and this in the second part of the chapter, and then this in the last part, and kind of come to the conclusion. So that's going to be the longest part, right? And that's the part where you're most likely to fall into what you might think about a description or a book report. But really what you're trying to do is, if this was a theater class, right? You're not telling me what the play's about. You're talking about, this is scene 1, and we've put this cabinet over here because we really want the audience to be wondering what's inside that cabinet, because that's where all the action's going. And we've got the spotlight dropped down on the cabinet, despite the fact that the person doing the monologue is on the other side of the stage. That's what we're thinking about with these chapters. How is it set up for a particular effect, right? Because that's sort of one of the things that historians do. And so you want to be able to identify that, see if it is useful or not. For those of y'all going into teaching in some way, shape, or form, you're going to be doing that, right? So you want to see how it's done. And then finally, the last part, you want to fit the section in with other stuff that we've read, other materials that have been assigned. Now use the UNESCO website. Now you can talk about the videos, right? And then in future assignments where we do the same thing, this would be where I integrate it with the other chapters, right? And then finally, what you thought. So everything up to here has been, the book says this, the book says that, the book is set up this way. And then finally, what'd you think about it? Now, here's the thing. In the future, you guys will get an assignment to do this over a chapter of the book yourself. Formal writing, let's see how you do it. But for the purposes of this discussion, there is no need for everyone to write about all of this and post it up. And so we have, essentially 10 different postings that more or less say the same thing, and it's all a little bit overwhelming, right? I want this to operate like a class discussion face to face would the best we can. So, in order to facilitate that, I've come up with, they're not entirely random. Random's not the right word. 75-word posting, getting things kicked off by the end of the day on Tuesday. Do you want to write it more than 75 words? Have a ball, okay? I don't really know that 75 words is the end all be all of a word limit. It just seems like if one of us posts and get things started and somebody fills it in with 75 words and somebody fills it in with another paragraph, eventually we'll build a pretty good discussion. So everyone gets something kicked up by the end of the day on Tuesday, and then follow it up, kick something else up, but by the end of the day on Thursday. If you want to post more than that, have a ball. But we're just kind of feeling this out to see how much is reasonable, keeping in mind your main mission. Convince me that you read. Convince me that you watched the videos. Talk about them together. If you can do that, you give us a lot to work with and a lot to talk about. Now, before we go a little further with this, let's talk about these due dates, okay? If the due dates are freaking you out, send me an email. I realize that some of us have unconventional jobs, which is why we're taking them online. I got some feedback last semester from some students that essentially, you know how I have the discussion boards, they're open, you know, whatever they open on, well, they open whenever, you know, I get it set up. But, you know, sometimes you have the discussion boards and I want one post early in the week and I want one post later in the week. And what I've done in the past is I've used the later in the week deadline as like your assignment's due by this time. And I've had some students I've actually had quite a few students who have asked me to move the deadline up to when the initial post is supposed to get up, to sort of remind them. That's what I'm doing here. All right. So let's work with this. Let's see how it goes. You can read through the rest of this to kind of get an idea about how it should be going. We should all be taking notes on this stuff anyway. But I'm hoping for us to have a discussion with each other over chapter 2 of the year 1000, focused on the Vikings. That's the mission. And then we'll have similar missions on the next chapters over the next few weeks. I'll design them slightly differently. I will send you out some reminders through the announcements, probably a reminder video, because there's a couple of assignments that I have changed the dates for that are not even put up yet. If you remember, and hopefully you don't, this week you were supposed to have an annotated research bibliography due. I just decided that was too much. I took it out. I haven't put it back yet. I just want to look at a few things. All right, I want us to get into school a couple of weeks and everybody get a feel for what's going on. Okay, that's the mission. Now, having said all that, let me see if I can, well, who knows? Having said all that, you got any questions? Pop on during my Zoom hours. Let's clear them up. Send me an email. We'll set up some Zoom hours. We'll clear them up. All right. I want everybody to enjoy studying about medieval history. I want you guys to have a good time working with these sources because these sources are cool. I want you guys to start thinking about a project that you might want to do. Check out the details for the formal essay. I'll shoot a video discussing that kind of stuff pretty soon. But and I want you to be putting in work, right? The general idea, behind college classes is something to the effect of 2 hours outside of class for every hour in class. So technically, this is a 3 hour in class, right? So that would be 6 hours out of class. So what that would get to is I'm looking for about 9 hours a week, right? Working on this class. That includes your reading, that includes your note taking, that includes watching videos, that includes getting on the discussion boards, writing things out. Will it take about 9 hours every week? Couldn't tell you. That's up to you. That's an about, right? Some weeks you might not have to put that much in. Good for you. Other weeks you might have to put a little bit more in. That's just the way it goes. However, if you are consistently putting in, let's say, 12 hours a week or more, and you're not enjoying it, like some people, they tell me that, oh, I'm putting in, tons of time into this, and it's like, why? I don't mean why, but I mean we have other things in life, and sometimes people are just like, well, I'm just really into it. I enjoy it. Awesome. If you're that person, put as much time as you want into it. But if you're going over 12 hours a week, I want us to talk. All right. This isn't supposed to stress you out. It's not supposed to stress me out. It's supposed to be a level of work for a college class. About 9 hours a week. All right. Having said that, enjoy your historical studies. Contact me if you've got any questions, and good luck.